Markets are moving a little bit. Markets are moving, people. Little bit. Thank you.
I was waiting for Kratz to say something
If
first.
you're listening on audio, Kratz did the tiny gesture, tiny hand gesture. When you start to see some relievers sign, which we've actually seen quite a few in the last 72 hours, then what happens, Kratz, among other things, is teams say, okay, this is the price. So let's all rush to the phones and offer the similar price based on what the prior player got that set the market.
Well, I don't want to pay too much. I don't think any of these pitchers are important enough to pay too much for. So what do I need? What do I need a closer? What do I need an eighth inning guy for? We'll just find somebody else.
All right, well, one team likes to go against the grain, actually multiple, but let's cover the Royals at the top here. Let's charge the mound.
Charging the mound.
Carlos Estévez was one of the better relievers available on the market. 2 years, $22.2 million is guaranteed. There's a club option for Kansas City to be able to tack on for 2027. That would make it 3 years, $33 million. So it's either 2 at 22-ish or 3 at 33-ish. Carlos Estévez was damn good with the Angels. He was pretty good with the Phillies. Had really good, basic numbers.
Yep.
Underlying numbers pretty good. The walk rate's really good. A little different. Like, he might not have the best stuff in the bullpen, but it's pretty high up there. And the one difference for me, Todd Father, with someone like him, is he actually knows where the baseball is going.
Well,
So
yeah.
there's maybe a little more consistency to that game.
Well, that's the most important thing. I mean, you do have some guys coming in here, trying to throw that pill, as we call it, 100 miles an hour with no conviction and, no accuracy. But, this is a great pickup here. I'd like to ask Kratzy after this what he really thought that what Carlos should have made. Is it a steal or is it not? I mean, that's a conversation we need to have. I think a guy of this caliber is a good Royal sign. I think that from last year to this year, they've had some really good signings, and I think this is another one that you can put a check mark on as a good one. I do think it's a steal, and I think he's going to have a great year. And I think with the Royals on the trajectory that they're going, it's a great pickup, especially this late in spring training.
Price-wise, I don't know. I mean, to me, I feel like if you're getting somebody under $13 million a year with his track record all-star game, I think in 23, good year last year, was in the pennant race. I guess I get it. He gave the grand slam to Lindor, but this is a dude that if you're getting for under 13 a year, because kind of that's where we're at with relievers, Yates was in that range. Presley was more, but then they paid off some of the money. The Astros paid off some of the money. My thing is, this is like, talk about optimizing your value. Just like Scott said, he's not just elite dominant stuff. He's just elite dominant, get the job done. And he's going to a huge ballpark. So if there's a place where you're like, man, where could Carlos Estévez really shine? Where could he be a guy that would really help a team? Oh, wait, that stadium really works for him because he doesn't put guys on base. You have to manufacture runs against him, and it's just really tough to do against him. I think it is a great pickup. I think he's okay not being the closer because they have Ursig in the closer role. And I think it's something that this dude at this point in his career, I think he just wants to win. So I think it's an underpay. Great job. Another great move by the Royals in back-to-back years here.
Remember, Kratz, last year the Royals had a bullpen problem. They were good. They were surprisingly good. And we were like, they need a high leverage arm. And they did it. They got Ursig from the A's, and he's under team control still for years. Enough years that I don't even need to check yet. So look what they've done just in the past, 8 months. They just fixed the back end of the bullpen with these two moves, with Ursig and with Carlos Estévez. There's some other notable names. Hunter Harvey's got good stuff. Schreiber, I think, was pretty good for them last year. But this is a pretty big addition.
I think it's more than just like you glossed over it, but people weren't listening. They had a bullpen issue. They had a bullpen issue during the season. They addressed it at at the All-Star break, at the trade deadline. Like teams that fell short, teams that were kind of on the bubble, didn't make moves like these guys made, and they were not afraid. They were not afraid to go make moves, and now they added to it again, similar to the Tigers adding to their strength in the bullpen, similar to the Guardians adding Paul Sewald to their strength in their bullpen. So this is, again, I just don't see my quandary here is, where were the Phillies with this? Did they really not like what they saw? Where were the Yankees with this deal? Are they really that far over the CBT that they don't want to go over it? Where were the Orioles? The Orioles, Jiminy Christmas, bro. Like, you can always add to this team for $11 million a year. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah, we saw the Padres do this, and I think it actually hurt the reliever market. Ready for this? So last year, the Padres had a super bullpen. Then they made it even more super by the trade deadline. They got Jason Adam. They got, help me.
Tanner Scott.
Tanner Scott, okay? They were one win over the Dodgers from, in my mind, winning a World Series. And
You're not kidding.
We are in a copycat league, Todd Father. You know what we would have been doing all offseason long? Look at the Padres. They've got the perfect model. They've got a really good team, but they have a super bullpen. It is the best stuff bullpen in baseball, and that's why they won. And we would think even more about Cleveland, too. Even though they didn't end up winning in that CS, we'd be like, look, Cleveland and San Diego had just ridiculous bullpens, and that's something that can carry you, obviously, during a season, but also into October. And there's depth to it. When you look at those two teams, you're like, there's 4 or 5 guys that could be closers around most of the league. So if the Padres ended up winning it all, I think we would have done that. Now, the Dodgers bullpen was great too, and they actually were dominant plenty of times. I think things got overshadowed at times because they had to do bullpen games since they didn't have a starter for every playoff game. But do you buy into that theory at all, Kratz? That the league would have looked around and been like, wait, instead of spending this much on this guy, this much on this guy, let's just pile together, $40 million on a season, right? And get ourselves 4 high leverage relievers that cost us double-digit millions.
So you're saying instead of getting the one big guy, or you're saying they just piled together as much as they could?
I'm saying Tanner Scott, who might be in a little bit of a different category, but Estévez is in this category. Yates is in this category. These are guys that are on short-term deals that are in the low double-digit millions, right? It's 10, 12, 13, in that range. And I just wonder why a team wouldn't go, let me get 3, 4, 5 of those. Because also, I don't want to deal with that at the trade deadline. The Braves have done a little bit of this in the past where they've loaded up their bullpen heading into a year. They did that more so last year than this coming season. And I know it can be expensive, but I just think that the way bullpens are valued and utilized down the stretch of a season, there should be more value placed on these guys. Teams are worried about the risk. Also, some teams, Todd Father, actually are able to figure out bullpens without paying much. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't take this route. And I love Kratz's point about the Orioles. I'm like, what if the Orioles just had racked up 3 or 4 of these guys and had a super bullpen like the Padres? That's a much sexier team to me than what they actually put together in the offseason.
Agreed. And I think I want to break down a couple of things. If the Padres ended up winning the World Series, we'd be dominant in talking about them all day. It would have been a whole different Padres team, in my opinion. But it didn't happen, as we all know. The point you bring about finding 3, 4, 5, well, not 5, through a couple different relievers, I've been saying that this whole time. Like, dude, this is the time of year you can pick up a guy like Estévez for, cheaper money or whatever it is, low teens. And there's some really good bullpen usage of bullpen guys. So that's the thing. Are there superior guys where it's like, oh, this guy's been dominant, for his whole career? Maybe not, but there's guys right now that are up there all of a sudden that are going to be a staple for your team. And I think anything, if you're a business guy, hey, listen, we really like this guy. Tell me where we're at. And find a way to meet in the middle, something, and go from there. I know it's harder, saying it out loud than trying to figure it out, but there's a couple steals. There's a couple packages right now that you can get for cheaper, which, it sounds terrible, but, that's the way it is as you get closer to spring training.
Yep. All right, so let's get to one more on this front because the Reds stay active. And if you check out our Instagram story, Todd Father and I gave them a little shout out. They've been doing things. They pick up Taylor Rogers from the Giants. They get a little money to cover the contract for this season. Rogers is due $12 million. They give away a minor league pitcher by the name of Braxton Roxby. And now you start to look at all of the activity for Cincinnati this offseason, and it's Nick Martinez returning on a qualifying offer to add swingman depth. You acquire Gavin Lux. You acquire Brady Singer to help with starting pitching depth and innings issues. Suitor B, Kratz's boy, for a little more in the bullpen. Austin Hayes instead of Luis Robert, who they were trying to acquire, and Ken told us about it, and they finally gave up and signed Hayes instead this past weekend. Jose Trevino for more catcher depth with him and Tyler Stevenson. You look back, Kratz, and on Fair Territory, Hannah Kaiser mentioned how they had the worst one-run record in baseball. I don't know if she's talking about most losses or loss percentage, but whatever it is, they were losing close games. They probably looked and said, okay, we were losing close games. We were missing a few big boys, and we're going to do a little bit of positive roster turnover, I would call it, and add depth. I like their offseason.
Great. I mean, great offseason. When you put it all out there, I honestly forgot. I remembered all the moves, but I forgot that they made all of them. Like, you sit there and you go, oh, yeah, they got Trevino. He's not going to be a starter. He's not going to be overexposed. I get it. He was an all-star platinum glove. But now all of a sudden you get Tyler Stevenson in there and you rest his legs. That seems the way that all teams are going. And this dude is, the best glove you can get behind the dish that was available. And all these moves were made out of the necessity that they have a really good core. They have Matt McLean. They have Ellie. They have TJ Friedel. All dudes that are, in my opinion, can take the next step. I mean, Ellie taking the next step is ridiculous. You go from third in MVP to first. I guess that's the only step you can really take. But you sit there and you go, this team wants to win. And how do I know that? The moves they've made. The moves they made around their young core, which is exciting. And really, if you had me guess what team makes the biggest jump from last year, it's been the Reds all offseason. Just for the fact that they're getting guys back on their roster that are huge, huge impacts.
Yeah, and I agree totally. I think about the comparisons here, what the Royals did last year in the offseason, I compare them to what the Reds are doing. It's totally different guys, but, superb players, guys that, have been there before, that are looking for a squad to, get after it. Do the Reds have a chance to win the division now this year? That's something to talk about. Really, they have a great opportunity. They have really good ball players, and now there is a chance here that the Reds do win this NL Central. They do. They have the chance of fresh and healthy Matty McLean, Hunter Green, who was dominant, who was in talks of winning the Cy Young Award. I mean, they have, just to name a few. You keep going to Ellie and nonstop Ellie, of course. That's Scotty's boy.
Yep.
But Tito Francona, come on, guys. I mean, pieces are starting to fall into place.
Yeah. I like when teams do things. I know you're not trying to do things just to do things, but when we talk so much about business and how MLB teams and owners care about revenue over all else, or at least some of them do, the best way to help business and to help ticket sales, a little freshness.
A little fresh.
News, right?
Yeah.
I know I've spoken to plenty of ticket sales guys and girls who will say, damn, our team hasn't done anything. Like when I'm on these phone calls for season tickets, they're like, so what have you done this offseason? So with Cincinnati, did they sign $200 million of players? No, but they did things. They made a lot of moves. They did positive roster turnover.
Yeah.
All right, we'll swing back with former Reds GM Jim Bowden on FT. But before that, a little shout out to Baseball America if you want to learn more about the top prospects on each of the organizations around baseball. They're the best in the biz. 30% off the first year of any annual subscription. We use the promo code FT30 at baseballamerica.com. They have the top 30s out for every single team, and they have their top 100 out, which is fresh as of a week ago. Be right back. Let's give a little love to 1-800-Flowers, proud sponsors of FT today. 1-800-Flowers.com/FT is what you need to do. You know what I was proud of today, Kratz? I listened to Fair Territory. Ken Rosenthal was giving us the details on his little order that he got for his wife, a little early Valentine's Day present. And he's like, I need all the help I can get. It was good. Just the perfect tone from Kenny Ballgame. But you told us yesterday about the quality of the flowers, obviously making sure that people get it on time, and then also get yourself double the roses when you're only paying for
Nothing
single
better
the roses.
than roses.
That's the good stuff at the FT code, right?
Oh, 100%. All different colors.
That's an orchid. That's an orchid there that I got from my wife. That John is nice. Like they don't just do just roses. Ooh, I got to do roses. My wife's kind of whatever about roses. My wife loves plants. We got plants everywhere, and the orchid, like they have different color orchids. It's like really intricate, and that thing will bloom. It said they give you like instructions, food, and everything to give it. That thing will bloom for 6 to 8 weeks. So it's not just like, the roses last. By the way, their roses last forever too. The ones I got her last week are still looking sharp.
Yeah, they're popping. So to claim your double your roses offer, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/FT. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/FT. Get after it, FT fam. There it is. QR code on the screen too. If you're watching, if you're listening, then go to 1-800-Flowers.com/FT. And coming up next, Jim Bowden, former general manager for the Nats and the Reds. And we'll talk to our guy about the pressing issues in the league. And we'll take a couple fan questions too in the chat. All right, here we go. We're back with Jim Bowden, analyst and insider for CBS Sports, joining us for a little session here with the front office focus. Okay, JB, I actually want to start with a little battle that we had last week between Steve Cohen and Scott Boras. So can you give us the tale of the tape? And who do you think won the fight when they put the boxing gloves on?
Yeah, look, this has been really fun to watch this play out because Pete Alonso has basically no leverage, right? And Steve Cohen knows that, who's also a great negotiator. But as they're trying to get to the finish line here, it's going to end up at a 3-year deal around 70 to 72 million with an opt-out, right? And I think both sides are close enough that this deal can get done when somebody wants to give, but it all comes down to structure. And I think when you study Scott Boras, and I negotiated with him for decades, he's pretty predictable in the way he thinks and the way he goes through a process. And I think if the Mets want to close the deal, you have to understand there's 2 ways to close the deal with him. Number one, you have to understand he wants to break a contract record. He's not going to do that in this case. He's not going to get the most years. He's not going to get the most money. He's not going to get the highest AAV for a first baseman. So you can nix that off. Number two, you have to give him a pathway to get the original contract he turned down or hit the long-term deal he was thinking he was going to get to the player. So how do you do that? Well, you give the player a short-term deal with an opt-out with a high AAV up front, and then you get him out and he gets the money on a second contract or a third contract for that matter, like he did with Blake Snell a year ago, right? He wanted to get him a 6-year, $170 million deal. He couldn't get it, so he signed a 1-year, $32 million deal with the Giants. He opted out, and then he got the 5-year, $139 million deal with the Dodgers this offseason, which totals 6 years, $171 million, which is what he wanted the year before. So that's what he's trying to do with Alonso. So if Steve Cohen and David Stearns could kind of look at this 70 or 72 million, however it's going to play out, and if they could find a way to front load the contract If they can accept the opt-out with maybe a little bit of a payment if he opts out to get him on pace to be able to do the same thing he did for Snell, that will get the deal done at the exact same guarantee money with deferrals that they're talking about right now.
That's incredible. I mean, at first, I got to just give you a little credit. The sweatshirt right now that you're rocking, it looks like you're about to go to a rap battle concert, and I respect that totally, dog. You're looking fresh. So if you want to spit a couple lyrics right now, just let us know. Let me talk a little bit about the Blue Jays, though, with this whole scenario. Are they out of it now, or is it just the Mets solely now? You talk about leverage. Is it the Mets only to get Pete, or is it the Toronto still trying to find a way to get him?
No, I think Toronto's in there just to try to show that there might be leverage. And of course, the way the basic agreement is written, teams can't say we're out on this player, right? That's part of the agreement that's there in the CBA. So Blue Jays can't say anything. And so, is it possible they could sign Alonso and move Guerrero to third? Sure. But my understanding is they're not in this thing at all. Not that they don't have interest, not that they wouldn't consider it if the price was right. But based on kind of where the Alonso camp is and where Pete wants to go, it doesn't seem to be an option. We've heard the San Francisco Giants, but Buster Posey is completely opposed to opt-outs. He does not want them. That's a real philosophical, in-cement viewpoint that he has right now in his first year running the Giants. So that's kind of out. The best fit for him is the Mariners, but they don't have any money, so they're not going anywhere. So look, there's not a lot of options. This is a deal that I would be shocked at if it doesn't get done with the Mets. It's just a matter of both sides needing to give here at the end to get the structure so both sides can at least be satisfied. Look, Pete Alonso is going to lose this negotiation. It is what it is. But he needs to do the best he can to get the most money up front, like Cody Bellinger did with the Cubs 2 years ago, which was another Boras client, and then be able to opt out in 2 years and hope that the market for first baseman is better and that he can put up 2 years of 40 home runs a year.
What rule gets broken more? Attachment 49 or any other rule? Because Steve Cohen, we were talking about the Steve Cohen stuff, did he break the rule?
Technically, I don't think he did, but I understand the viewpoint and the warning that's out there. Look, when you have no leverage, you need the owners to behave because you have no other place to go. So you're sitting here in this particular situation, grinding it out, and you want to get the warning out from one of the media members that, hey, this is going to be in a violation. I can file a grievance. And in other words, it's more of a warning to the owners, stop it because you're affecting my negotiations.
All right, JB, I want to take us to the San Diego Padres. I'm still befuddled, although I understand there is significant ownership strife going on right now. But, we start hearing about Cease at the beginning, really, of the offseason. It sounds like it could be heating up a little bit. Michael King's name gets thrown around. At one point, it was Luis Arraez. So, what do you think the Padres are going to end up doing this offseason as they've seen some of their very familiar faces go elsewhere, like Kim and Profar, and B, do you think this has to do with the legal battle that's going on with ownership and that's preventing them from pushing forward with budget and positive activity versus trading guys off?
Well, it's definitely an ownership issue. There's no money, and they're projected to make significant losses. And so AJ has no money to work with. That's why he was hoping to be able to get Sasaki, even though he had a pre-cut deal with the Dodgers, apparently. He was hoping to get Sasaki and hoping that wasn't the case because you put Sasaki with King and Cease and Darvish, and you can still win, right? Now you didn't get Sasaki. You got Musgrove that's going to be out for the year. And so now he's looking at the team, realizing his best shot for the playoffs is a wild card spot, which he has a chance to, but no Profar, no Kim, as you mentioned, and no pathway to add anybody that's making any money because your orders are to cut payroll, not to add payroll. And then you've got the double conundrum in the fact that, okay, Luis Arraez is a free agent, Dylan Cease is a free agent. So now what are you going to do? So now you got to go to the market and say, okay, I can't extend either one. I probably, with a year out, instead of waiting to the trade deadline, should see what I can get now. You go through that process, and, as the Brewers learned a year ago with Corbin Burns, the price is Joey Ortiz and DL Hall, and that's best case scenario. That's all you're getting. It's not like you're trading Juan Soto. So, the trade value is not what it is. So then you say, well, what about Michael King? When you get King, you've got more control with him. Does that get it? So I think the Padres are looking at it two ways. Number one, we could go for it, try to get a wild card berth. If it doesn't work, we can make trades at the trade deadline to retool. Or let's see if we can't get 6 or 7 prospects for 3 of our better players now and kind of start this rebuild now, because financially it's not going to get any better. They've also gone down the path of saying, hey, we'll trade one of our top prospects with Xander Bogaerts if you take Bogaerts' contract. So they're trying to find other ways also to reduce payroll to try to afford to do other things. But, they put themselves in a tough corner. And until the ownership either provides more resources or gets settled, I don't see the Padres' situation in the front office changing until that changes.
Why have the White Sox not been able to move Lubob? Luis Robert is still a White Sox. They're White Sox. I got the White Sox losing more than 121 games. And with Robert out of the lineup, they could accomplish that for me. But have you heard what is getting in the way of that?
Yeah, absolutely I have. So there have been some teams that have been in on Luis Robert. The Cincinnati Reds, Philadelphia Phillies are 2 of the teams that have had discussions with the Chicago White Sox. And what the White Sox want in return for Luis Robert is they want 2 legitimate top 5 prospects in your organization. I mean, they want 2 really good players. And right now, the teams that have talked to them are willing to give 1 really good player, but not 2. The reason being, when you give up a top prospect, that's a sure thing. You're going to control them for 6 years, et cetera, et cetera. Now, of course, in the Garrett Crochet trade, they got 2 legit top prospects, the catcher Kyle Teal and the right fielder Braden Montgomery, and they're hoping to get 2 more here, so they'll get 4 everyday players for the 2 stars that they trade. So I understand what they're trying to do. Now, they haven't been able to do that. So now the question is the player worth 2 good prospects? I would argue there's a pathway to say yes, but let's talk about the player. And then, Erik and Todd, you guys jump in on what you think of the player. So 2 years ago, we saw him at 38 homers. His rookie year, we saw him win a Gold Glove. We've seen him steal 20 bags, and we've seen the ridiculous athleticism and talent that's there. We've also seen a guy that doesn't always show up. We see a guy that loses focus in the outfield. We see a guy that doesn't seem to grind, doesn't seem to be 100% into the games. Now, partly because perhaps he's with one of the worst teams in baseball history, partly because there's no protection in the lineup. There's all kinds of excuses that we can give, but if you're giving up 2 really good prospects, I don't want just a potential star player. I also want a guy that wants to play, that's a winning player, because the last 2 years of my 3-year deal with him is going to be $20 million a year, which makes it more difficult to give up. So I think what has to happen, to answer your question, Erik, I think he has to get to spring training, show that he's healthy, and be performing at the level we saw 2 years ago, playing with enthusiasm. And I think if that happens, there's still a chance he's traded by opening day.
This is my universal sign for no, I don't have a big nose. I completely agree with you, and I'm only looking from the outside. The talent is there, but I couldn't agree more with you. He needs to show me he wants to go and play for the Phillies. He wants to go and play for a team that's contending.
Right.
Talent goes so far. Maybe Todd has a different view.
No, I agree 100%. You talk about a grinder. I'm looking for those grinders, the guy that's going to come in early and show these young guys how it's really done. Stay later. Hey, I need 10 to 15 more flies. I need, can we work on this? Come here, young buck. Let me show you how it's supposed to be done. And we just haven't seen that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it's now or never. If you want the truth, it's go time. The guy can hit, and we all know that. So,
and then the other thing you have to do, if you're a team, is you got to have players in your clubhouse that can help get the most out of the player. I remember, when I was a GM, I brought in a couple of players, Tony Fernandez and Benito Santiago, that had great talent, but we had some of the same questions about them. But I had a Barry Larkin and a Lenny Harris in that clubhouse, and I didn't have to worry about it because they would be on those guys. And as Barry Larkin told me one day, he said, we can have one bad apple and be fine. We just can't have a lot of them. And so when you look at a Robert, he is a good fit for Cincinnati. Put him in center field, let all the other outfielders platoon, but to have that power in that ballpark, it is 40 home runs. The defense helps the pitching staff because it's not a great defensive team. So it's a really good fit. But do you have the guys in the clubhouse? Can Matt McLain and Ellie De La Cruz, can those guys get him? I know Terry Francona will hold them accountable. But those are questions that front offices have to ask. Do you have the guys that fit? Now, I would argue the Phillies definitely have that in Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. So to me, if I were confident that that guy could work there, I definitely feel confident with the Phillies.
So last one for me, I want to talk about the Mariners a little bit and how they have this set budget. I mean, nowadays you're seeing teams go over the tax threshold. You see all this. I want to bring up Jerry DiPoto a little bit, man. Is he doing a good job, or does he need to get after a little bit in the trade market and finding guys to get on this squad? I mean, we've heard about the story by Mike Petriello about how their park is one of the hardest to hit in as well. So, what does Jerry have to do here, with a set budget? I mean, is there more he can do?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, first of all, the reason the Mariners are where they are is because of ownership not providing the money to win. And when you have the best five-man rotation, arguably in the American League, or at least top two in the American League, you should be not only in the playoffs, but a chance to win a World Series. And you should be doing everything you can to add two bats to a team that would be completely different with two impact bats. So the fact that you're not spending money now when you have a window to win makes no sense. Spend it now and make up for it 3 years from now or 4 years down the road when your team doesn't have the window anymore. So managing the long-term ownership, it's a huge mistake what they're making. Now, in terms of Jerry, look, he's as aggressive as you can find. He hasn't gotten the job done, and this is a result-oriented business. There were first basemen traded this offseason that would have fit in their budget. Josh Naylor went from the Guardians to the Diamondbacks. Jake Berger went from the Marlins to the Rangers. Both of those guys would have fit perfectly with the Seattle Mariners. So there were options out there. He also has 7 players in the top 100 prospects in baseball. So he's got prospects that he can trade. Also, a team like the Tampa Bay Rays have Yandy Diaz, who they would trade because they have Trey Morgan and they've got Xavier Isaac coming. So, they would be open to a deal there, and they would love a prospect deal because the Mariners are loaded in that area. So there is more that Jerry can do. He also has to get creative, whether he wants to or not. In other words, I know Luis Castillo's contract is too much for some teams, right? I mean, he's $24 million a year, and he's got several more years left on the deal. If you have to eat $4 or $5 million a year of it, then you eat it. I know Mitch Haniger's got a bad contract at $15 million. Eat half of it. Trade him at $7.5 million. But you've got to find a way to get the bats. I mean, you can't tell me that there wasn't a time that you could have gotten Tristan Casas from the Red Sox or Kobe Mayo from the Orioles or Ryan Mountcastle from the Orioles for that matter. I mean, there has to be deals that can be made. Jerry's been one of the most aggressive GMs since he got to Seattle. It's surprising they haven't done much. But I will say this, he is trying. I know that from opposing GMs. So he has been out there aggressive. But this is the time really where an owner should wake up on the right side of the bed and tell Jerry, go get me Alonso and Bregman tomorrow because I can afford both, which they can.
All right, you're on the inside of these deals. Last year, Kike Hernandez came on here and said, ironically, the same day, within an hour, I got an offer for the same amount of years and the same amount of dollars. And this has happened to 2 other of my friends who I won't mention. Again, kind of that fringe type of player, definitely a big leaguer, not a superstar. From your seat as a GM,
yeah,
how can you explain this, that the Oakland A's and the Cincinnati Reds both offer 2 years, $2.9 million, and not say, oh, it is not collusion?
Yeah, okay. So this is the way I'm going to answer, Erik, is the following. Number one, Major League Baseball hires some of the most expensive lawyers in the country. And ever since you had that collusion in the 80s when Peter Ueberroth was the commissioner, the teams are very careful to make sure that all of the lawyers go through everything the commissioner's office and the teams do to make sure that they can never be called for collusion again. Now, that being said, in this world, we all have loopholes in everything we do. So how do you do a loophole? Simple. It is legal for teams to get from the commissioner's office, based on their data and research, where do you see a player's value? Here's a particular player. What is Pete Alonso worth? Okay, well, the AAV, the way we see it, is $22 million a year. Okay, so now all of a sudden Pete Alonso gets a bunch of offers about $22 million a year. So, the commissioner's office, the labor relations department, the 30 clubs all share similar information on all of these players. All of them are well aware what everyone has made in the past, how many years, how many dollars. They slot players in based on career performance, platform years of where the value should be. And every time a value goes beyond that, the industry gets really upset because it changes the landscape for everybody else. That's why arbitration numbers have always gone this way. That's why whenever you get a superior talent like Juan Soto, all of a sudden it goes to another planet. But when it goes to another planet, they try to make sure the rest of the industry doesn't as best they can. So, yeah, I mean, look, if you asked me to value a certain player and gave me 3 hours to do that, I would come up to with a very similar year and dollar number that the other 30 clubs would make. And if I'm going to make the same offer, I guarantee you the Blue Jays made the same offer as most teams on all the free agents, because that's what they do. They make market offers. The teams that actually get the free agents, like the Yankees and the Dodgers, they actually just pay a little bit more to make sure they get them.
Making the same offer, then you're just putting it in their hands.
Yeah.
You want to actually win the player, you got to go over the computer algorithm. It doesn't sound that complicated, but apparently it is for some number crunchers. Well, Jim, on our way out here, we just want to give a shout out to your son, Chad. You've got amazing children who are super talented, but Chad just took center stage with the way that he led Notre Dame to a title game, right? And he's the GM of that team for the past, what was it, year or two? For a year, yeah. Well, that was pretty quick to be able to turn them into a ridiculous contender, and now he's going to do the same operation over at USC, and so we'll be expecting to see them in some championship games as well. But just we wanted to give a congrats here on FT, because I know Chad hustles his butt off.
Yeah, thanks. It means a lot to me. I'll tell you, when he won the Director Recruiting of the Year award in college football, he called me to make sure I knew that he did it at a younger age than I was Executive of the Year. And when he was named GM, he told me, I just want to remind you, I got there before you did, even though you were the youngest in baseball history. I got there younger. And then he reminded me yesterday that he's now being paid more money than I've ever been paid. So, yes, he's a lot of success at 30 years old. I'm proud of him. He's done this on his own. He's worked hard. And the only thing I taught all my kids is someone's going to be smarter, someone's going to be better looking, someone's going to have more money, someone's going to be more athletic. But at the end of the day, the one thing you can do is you can outwork everybody, and you can surround yourself with better people than they can. And if you do both of those things, you will win. And that's the advice I gave him, and that's the advice that he's followed, and I'm glad it's worked for him.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
I mean, clearly it's in the bloodlines.
No doubt about it.
The young GM in MLB, and then
dream
the
come
young
true
GM
for a father,
in college
for sure.
football, which is kind of like pro football these days. So, JB, awesome catching up with you. We'll get you again next week.
Sounds good.
Appreciate you. Jim Bowden on FT. Be right back, FT fam. We're going to go over what Astros general manager Dana Brown said about a fractured relationship with Ryan Presley, and the Tigers aren't done. That was good. That was good stuff. Obviously, I've been a big fan of Bowden for a while, because when you're a former general manager, you're often looking for your next job back in. JB's like, nah, I'm a media guy, and he brings it to you straight. Like that last answer with Kratz, you're not going to get that from really anybody else that worked in the game that now is outside of the game from a front office. So I respect that.
Or even the analyzing Boris stuff. Like, look, this is how Boris wants to go. When he's not breaking a record, hey, he wants to go to what he had offered. Hey, when he has that offer, so it's really compartmentalized and really makes it simple, instead of being like, oh, is Alex Bregman going to get $300 million? No, relax, bro. Like, this is what he wants.
Two more things here in our 2-minute left of break. One, we are inches away from 75,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's a healthy number. Even though you know who you are, there's still about double the audience that's watching consistently, about 150, that hasn't pressed one single button to show FT love. It's okay. It's okay. We're still nice. We still love you. We'll still keep delivering the content. But if you can press subscribe, that would be cool. And then lastly, we take you all the way from the depths of inside collusion to Livvy Dunn's TikTok of Paul Skenes living up to his I cook steaks reputation, which he told us about this past weekend in our conversation with him. So there's Livvy celebrating a very nice steak dinner that is being put together by a very large man who throws 100 miles an hour. So good job. Just wanted to show that a little
Watch
love.
those fingers now. Easy with the fingers. Be careful now.
I feel like he's pretty precise.
No, without a doubt. It's that one.
Right.
It's that one where, I'm cutting Livvy. What's going? Oh, my bad. There goes a finger now. Just be careful.
What did you cook when you were playing, or were you ever just worried doing like everyday things?
I have a couple of things. Yeah, I made a stupid decision one time by using a knife to cut open this plastic thing. I get it. It literally took a piece of skin off of me. I had to go to the hospital. It was pretty bad. So it was like 3 weeks before the season, and I still lose feeling in the tip of my. Which finger? Oh, it's good. I don't remember. Oh, it's this one. This one.
Middle.
Right there, middle. Okay. And I'm like, oh my god. My father-in-law almost passed out. He doesn't like blood. It was pretty. It was pretty yucky.
That's why you don't give the middle finger as much.
No, just point.
You can't do it. Why, Kratz? Real quick, did you cook or not?
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah.
Oh, he says it like he's better than everybody else. Here we go.
No, just better than you. Old 9-finger Todd.
I had to earn my spot in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Let's get to a couple things here. Astros and Tigers. Let's start with the Astros. Ryan Pressly was traded the other day, the deal official, and then you hear from people like Dana Brown, who, again, actually is one of the better GMs in baseball for accessibility. Always talking to the media and very often giving you the less calculated answers. If you're a GM and you listen to this show, or an assistant GM, and you know who you are, and you're out there, and you give the most annoying, calculated office buzz terms, it's got to stop. It's a business, but it's fun. Anyway, he said the relationship with Ryan Pressly took a different turn after the Astros signed Josh Hader last year. Brown used the word fractured and said it wasn't the same as we first met. This tweet coming from our guy Chandler Rome, who writes for The Athletic and hosts Crush City Territory. So I was listening to that podcast the other day with Crush City and Northside Territory. They did a crossover episode. And even though the Astros had the fractured relationship with Pressly, it's not like he took it personal with Hader. Hader's just a free agent.
No,
he signs. Apparently they have like kids similar age and they were hanging out off the field. So it wasn't that. Pressly was just like, yo, look what I've done in the playoffs for you. I just got demoted for no reason. Even though I'm trying to look at it from the front office view, Todd Father, and be like, but we want to be better, and he is the better reliever. So how are the Astros supposed to play that out without it getting fractured?
It's very hard. That back and forth. Why are they signing this top guy? I've been doing it for years. Did I do something wrong? There's a lot of stuff that goes in your head. And if I'm Pressly, inside, might not show it, but I'm like, the hell did I do wrong? Why is this going on? But on the outside, it's like, this is going to make this team better. And then ultimately you lose in the first round against a Tiger team that just got really hot and found a way to win games. And then you're sitting back in the office and told you so, in your mind, like you're talking about it, like, what did I do? And it's hard. You want to play that card all the time. I'll do anything for the team. As long as the team is doing well, we win a championship. Well, you didn't win a championship. So was there some dissension? I don't know. I don't know the whole thing. I know they did have a pretty good team, but at the end of the day, I love this. I love to hear exactly, what he thought and what really went on, because guess what? That's human nature and that's life. People have their own opinions and feelings about anything they do.
But for me, Kratz, it's like if it was a superstar catcher and then someone else gets signed and then he gets bumped to the bench. Okay, I get it, right? Like let's take a catcher that we like in the big leagues who's really good but not the best. Like who's the best catcher in baseball right now, or one of the best catchers in baseball? Let's just try to use this example. It'll help me out. Okay, JT Realmuto. But give me a name a little bit below him, but who's a solid starting catcher in
Tyler
baseball.
Stevenson, younger.
Okay, so if you're Tyler Stevenson and then the Reds acquired JT Realmuto, Tyler might be like, I don't know if that was the best use of resources. And now I'm getting bumped to the bench because I'm not playing another position. Let's say he's not playing first for them either. Okay. That's different to me than a bullpen of 7+ guys and enough room for everyone. It's just a change of roles within that bullpen. And if you do want to win a World Series, you do want to stack the hell out of that bullpen. We just talked about that at the top of the show.
That's why I don't think it affected the team. I think it affected Dana Brown and Alex Presley's relationship. Because when a guy like Josh Hader is on your radar to sign, if you're an open GM, which I feel like Dana Brown really is, you're not going to Alex Presley and being like, how do you feel about us signing Josh Hader here, Alex? And they're like, I would say Alex. Ryan Presley, sorry. How do you feel about that? No, they're going to tell him, hey, we're going to go sign Josh Hader to make our bullpen better. And then he gets to wonder, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to lose my role? Well, he really cares about the team. He said all the right things, so it's not going to affect on the field. But you know what? I feel like Dana Brown owed me a little bit more. So maybe that's where the relationship can get fractured. I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that they put the best team out there to win, and that's all players want.
So they talked about how Presley actually stepped it up a ton last year as more of a veteran presence because he's a pretty quiet, out of the limelight guy. But when the team was struggling earlier in the season, he would hold court with young pitchers. Apparently, he was a huge help for Hunter Brown's turnaround and success, which was a big deal for the Astros. I get everything that everyone's saying. The only part that I don't understand is how the Astros are supposed to play this part out. What would have been the way to do it? The only thing I could come up with is if they said, okay, like we're bringing on Hader, but we're just going to tell him like you're going to pitch the 8th and Presley's going to pitch the 9th. And that would have made him happy because then you get both arms, but you're putting one in a spot either way that he doesn't want to be in or that he's less comfortable in. Right. Okay. So just to clarify, the Astros did nothing wrong.
But can I just jump in here? Like Hader wanted to be the closer and Presley wants to be the closer, right or wrong. That's the problem. So when one person becomes the closer, the other one's going to be like, especially after he did so well. So I see the side of what Presley is talking about. Like, listen, I've been the top dog. I've been, in World Series championships. I've been getting last outs. Why am I, it's him or I kind of deal. But I know Presley, he's a veteran. He understands it. He's not going to say much. But in that situation, it's like you got to pick one or the other.
Yeah, but that's
and they didn't pick me, meaning Presley. So
but
I'm not trying to argue or be that person, but he's got feelings, I guess. I mean,
I'm just trying to understand it. I get like the alpha dog mentality, but I'm saying, what do the Astros do? So if they pick up
nothing,
they pick up Hader, okay, and I'm on the phone with you and you're Presley, and I'm like, and they did give him a heads up, but they didn't say like, can we acquire him? They were like, we're just letting you know that he's probably going to be our guy for the 9th next year, right? So if I'm on the phone and I'm like, are you cool with that? And you're like, man, I don't really love that. I'm like, well, what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
You want us to not sign the player and put us in a worse position?
No.
We feel like there's value here on the market.
Yeah.
So you guys are just saying it is what it is. This is just the nature of a competitive player who had a position for a while within a team and he had to change roles.
Everybody gets replaced. Everybody gets replaced, and when that stuff happens, you got to look at it and be like, well, I'm not spending another 5 years here, so I get what the org's trying to do. And you know what? I get 2 years with this dude. I get 2 years with the best reliever in baseball added to our core that's down there. I'm game with it. Whether it was that fast, no, it probably took a few days. But again, you don't have to build that relation. Dana Brown and Ryan Presley do not have to be friends. Like that's like you don't have to be friends with your GM. Now your manager and you got to talk it out. Joe Espada did a good job supposedly about sitting them down and talking them through it. So that's a relationship I think that needs to be mended and talked through. But your GM, you could never talk to your GM and you guys would win a World Series. Easy peasy.
Yep. Yeah. Well, of course.
Oh, there's some GMs that are around all the time and some that barely talk to players. We can do a whole segment on that. But in the meantime, and by the way, what was I going to say? Joe Espada did also mention how, things got fractured a little after that part too. Mm-hmm. So just throwing that out there. Yeah, there was a lot to it. And they had a super slow start, but obviously picked it up, didn't get the job done in the playoffs because of the Tigers. So let's hit the Tigers for a few minutes. Cody Stavenhagen, host of Tiger Territory and the Athletic Tigers beat writer, said, or posted a Scott Harris quote, said, I think the bullpen and our lineup are two areas that we are going to look to upgrade if we can, but we also like our depth on both sides of the ball. I love always throwing that line after there. But just in case we don't get anyone, please don't kill me.
But
so they did add Tommy Kane.
Yeah,
they did add your boy. I'm a big fan of that move. I'm still a little bit underwhelmed with their offseason coming off such a successful year and, to me, a division that can be taken. And the Tigers had like a little smoke and mirrors action. AJ Hinch even told us that this past weekend, to how they put everything together. Like, to say season after season you're going to have Skubal and the rest, it's just tough. So I like the Gleyber Torres addition. I think he could have a nice re-platform season for Detroit. Canely, cool. Alex Cobb for some veteran depth. So we're getting there, but I thought that they were one of those locks to get one of the big boys. And Bregman's still out there, so it still could happen. But I just figured Detroit was going to go down that route and didn't realize that they had so much PTSD about the big money given out to Javi Baez.
Yeah, I mean, listen, from what I saw last year with the Tigers and how they came through and took care of Houston, I was a masterpiece of what they did, of putting guys in to understand, listen, no I guys on this team. One guy would bat first, and then the next time he'd bat seventh, he'd bat ninth one game. It just depended on who was pitching. And then they figured out what pitchers need to throw in what innings, and it worked to perfection. And, yeah, I was thinking, like, all right, when are they going to get this offseason is going to be great because they got the guys in each position. Now you need a big dog to come in as well and be a dominant pitcher. A reliever. They got Canely, of course, but that one guy that I just feel like they're missing. And we don't have much time left, Scotty. We talk about it all the time. There are still opportunities to grab guys. It's still a destination right now where people want to go. Yeah, is it cold? It's not fun to play in that stadium when it's freezing, but it's baseball at the end of the day. And I think what they have going there is really, really fun. And we're going to see it fun for a lot of years.
Yeah, they have a good core. I want Flaherty and I want Bregman because that's what we do on this show. We spend money of other ball clubs. But if you look at their payroll compared to what it used to be, you're like, yeah, they can definitely add those two guys. Yep. Anyway, let's give you a little bite from was it Parker Meadows on Parker. I was like about to say Austin. I got my Austin and my Parker.
That's okay. At least they're brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm calling Ryan Presley, Alex Presley. They're not even close to being brothers.
That's your former Pirates teammate probably. But anyway, let's get Parker Meadows on Tiger Territory with a few words here.
I want to know, what is that locker room like? What type of dude is Parker Meadows in the locker room? I was a straight clown, bro. So what's Parker Meadows like in the clubhouse?
I'm a little bit of a clown too. I don't like to take everything too serious. But I'm usually the quiet guy that kind of observes the room and sees what the vibes are like. And once I recognize the vibes, I'll kind of fall into place with that. So I'm pretty aware on what's going on. But I'm pretty good at ping pong. We play ping pong a lot. I'm up there on the leaderboard for ping pong. Others will probably disagree, but yeah, man, I don't know. I like to have fun. I like to try to keep everybody loose.
Nice. Parker Meadows, who had, a much better second half. He was struggling against breaking balls, which was the same problem the year before. Also just came back and was a little more aggressive.
Who doesn't struggle against breaking balls?
No, I know.
I'm just saying. Yeah. I never could.
I struggled with them in Little League, so that was it for me.
You still struggle with breaking balls.
I still do.
We're going to have a conversation. We're going to go down here in the lab, and we're going to work.
Cage in the lab for a few
No, but yeah, listen. Hey, breaking balls are hard. I think I was probably like a 150 average against off-speed pitches. But when they threw me that fastball, like Kratzy thought he could sneak the cheese by the rat sometimes, all of a sudden he goes,
yep.
The glove goes down. Damn. I never took my eye off that fastball.
I like this Tigers team. More obviously on the Tigers, on Tiger Territory. So make sure you check out the show. Look it up wherever you watch your team shows. We're getting ready for Teoscar Hernández too. There's your Tiger Territory, part of the FT network. And if you're looking to your right and you're like, Ajax? Yeah, that's Austin Jackson. Mr. Nice Man with the grizzly beard.
Love him.
Former Tiger. Part of that Kieran Steckley, Cody Stavenhagen crew. Go give it a look and a listen. All right, coming right up, Teoscar Hernandez. But before that, we'll get a quick problem in to Todd Father. Why won't he go to Canada? The ultimate teaser. I saw this the other day from Ryan Divish. The Mariners signed Luis Castillo, and then people were confused, but it's a different Luis Castillo. And if anything, when I see Mariners and Luis Castillo, I don't know how you guys are, but notifications in the offseason, I'm immediately going, where's he going? Because he's been in trade rumors. And then I looked and I was like, this is just one of those cute little baby signings that are being put out there. There's Heyman signing Luis F. Castillo, a right-handed pitcher, not to be confused with Luis M. Castillo, their all-star righty. It's a minor league contract, MLB camp invite. He was with Chiba Latte and Oryx the last couple of years over in Japan.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I mean,
it's not, you know what they say when you enter that clubhouse. This clubhouse ain't big enough for two Luis Castillo.
I think of the combio. Is there a good combio in there?
Right, can he be Luis Castillo? Because Luis Castillo might not be on the opening day roster.
Big shoes to fill.
For the Mariners, the good one.
Oh, yeah.
He might get traded.
The good one. I like that.
Well, the other one's got to prove it.
More proven one.
Yeah, the more proven.
Good. I want you to say that to Luis.
Which one?
F. Castillo.
Luis F? I'll say, dude, you're amazing. You're a big league ball player, but you're not Luis M.
I hope he is.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he gets traded, Kratz?
Here we go. Traded?
I don't.
You don't?
The only reason I don't is because I don't think teams, just watching the whole Stroman saga and even to the Presley saga, teams are just in trades. They're looking for that contract to just be sliced. They don't want to pay it. Even though I think Luis Castillo is a $24 million a year pitcher right now. Like, to me, there should be teams lined up. There should be the Orioles lined up. But I just think they don't want it. I don't think the match will happen. I just think the teams aren't going to line up because nobody's going to want to pay that much for some reason, and the Mariners aren't going to want to eat that much.
I'm going against you. I think he gets dealt in spring training when either an arm goes down or a team realizes their arms are not good enough. Oma in the chat said, teams are hungry for starters. Seattle needs better bats. How is Seattle not trading? Yeah, I mean, this got to be tough. Trader Jerry has a nickname for a reason, but he's pretty hamstrung. I do hope that they do something. I just think they need to switch it up a little bit. There's not been much activity in Seattle.
But when you got the pitching staff, people talk about how good they are. It's tough. It's tough to get rid of those. Good pitching beats good hitting all day, baby. It's not working.
One win shy the last couple of years.
Got to have them both. You can't have them both. That's right.
Oh wow, he's back.
Not happy.
Let's hit the office. Can I help to present the case here? Because I'm gonna
present it. Please.
I'm here in person, so let me take a seat. Top father.
How you doing?
I'm all right. I got a little problem here. I'm an executive that's part of the Toronto front office. I'm not going to say who I am. I could be a GM. I could be assistant GM.
Don't say your name on here. Don't say your name.
I don't want to say anything. But we're having trouble consistently recruiting players to sign with us.
Let me get my notebook out here.
Place. Yeah, this is something where you probably need to write this down because there's a lot to it. And if I start to tell you the intricacies of some of the offers that we put together, you're going to need to write a whole book just on that Anthony Santander deferred contract.
Mm-hmm.
So the Jays keep going to the 10-yard line, and then they miss. So Andy Martino, who covers the Mets in depth, said that the Jays got close last week with Alonso, but it didn't get finalized, hence the potential pivot back towards the Mets. It sounds like there's a lot of deferral action going on. The Blue Jays are trying to do their Dodger impression. So how do we get the deal done more consistently? We've done a few things. We got ourselves Jeff Hoffman and we got Anthony Santander, but
of course
that's not good enough for a playoff team this year.
Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
When teams or when agents come to you, I know you don't want to give them the best offer. But listen, or want to give them the offer you really want to do. You want to hear what they're doing. but sometimes you got to bite the bullet. You got to get out of the way and say, listen, we understand this is what you want. We're going to go a little more. How do you like that?
Pay more though,
because
Jim Bowden was just on our show and said that they offer market value just like everyone else.
They can't. You can't do that anymore. People don't want to go up there. It's just the way it is. People don't want to go up to Canada. Mm-hmm. Some guys are afraid to. I don't get it. I like Canada.
We don't have like grizzly bears with maple syrup, at the ballpark. They're in the woods.
Is it an appetizing place to go to? I don't think so. Not anymore. These guys, they for some reason, they would think about, all right, Toronto, we'll keep them in the back of our minds in case this deal doesn't go through. Well, why? Toronto, start spending a little more. And you know me. Money's vital to me. Mm-hmm. I got to make sure I got mine. And you got to make sure you got yours.
So
understand. Make it a little more appetizing. That's all.
So because our taxes are higher up there, we need to pay a player tax.
Just a little
bit more off the top.
Listen, 5 years for $100 million, 5 years, $110 million. What's the big difference? $10 million. Is that a difference? Yeah, it's a big difference.
It's a difference, but not much since, we're a massive telecommunications
Anthony Santander, Jeff Hoffman, they got the players. They need one more. Pete Alonso, you're still in the mix, bud. I'm going to make a few calls. Mm-hmm. Erik, don't tell anybody about this. The problem will be fixed sooner than later.
I feel like Todd kind of has some family that works with the Jays. The fact that they like swindle their money like around like, you know what? The loonies and toonies, the Canadian dollar's strong this year. We're going to give you 3% of your paycheck in loonies and toonies and 40% in when the dollar is strong. We're going to give you 60% of the dollar. Like it's right up your people's alley there, Todd. Make sure I get your people. You know what I'm talking about.
Listen, you're going to get a call after the show.
Hey,
you better be careful.
I'm driving out there tomorrow. If everybody wants to come and see me, they can come and see me.
Don't say that. Don't you say that.
Well, now we know. We know his location.
You better digress.
I don't digress. I don't back down. I'm Amish.
Yeah, we don't mess with the Amish. They're good people. We like the Amish.
There's another good point here from Oma in the chat. I mean, the Blue Jays need to win and use that as an appealing pitch for free agency. So here's the other factor, okay? Because I feel like sometimes this show gets a bad rep. It's a good rep with some teams, a bad rep with others, where really, I promise you, we don't give a flying bleep about which team is thriving or not. We want, and generally, cool storylines. We actually want teams that have been struggling for a minute to find success. So with a club like Toronto, they need to show that they're a good team. Good farm system helps. If everything's the same and it's tied, that's where players will start to look at things. Yeah. Do I have to deal with customs? It's just a fact of life. So anyway.
And it's about family too.
Yeah.
My wife, my kids, some have to stay for school in the United States. Some like, don't worry, we homeschool, we'll be all right. It's that mismatch. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on leaving the country for sure.
$10 million more. That certainly helps to figure out the school system.
Oh yeah, get a nanny then. You can bring somebody with you.
Exactly. You could start a school with that much money. All right, let's get to our next guest in 2 minutes. We're going to step aside and then talk to former Blue Jay, current Dodger world champ Teoscar Hernández making his foul territory debut on the show. Be right back. It's America's #1 meal kit. Yep, it's called HelloFresh, and we've all been involved. And actually, we were just talking about chefing up a storm earlier in the show.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We might have to send a little gift package to our boy Paul Skenes for joining us this past weekend, since he's a steak guy, and I've had some killer steak meals. A little red meat action with HelloFresh. The one I brag about usually, Kratz, but it's been a minute, is a little Peruvian dish that we whipped up at home. It was not too shabby.
Yeah, I haven't eaten the Peruvian, but I haven't gotten any meat from HelloFresh that you're like, this is kind of mid. And it all comes to you packaged so nicely and with these like labels. So I get 3 meals at a time. The labels are like red, blue, and green. So I know that this bag has the red label on it. This meat has the red label on it. And you get them all out together. Gucci smoochies.
There you go. I mean, can't say it any better. So the only thing I can add to the table is what you see at the bottom of the screen. Up to 10 free meals and a free high protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. One item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. But if you're a current subscriber, they give you plenty of hookups, okay? Up to 10 free HelloFresh meals at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM. Be right back with Teoscar Hernandez of the LA Dodgers.
Okay.
All right.
Sit in the
So, I
couch.
mean this sincerely. One of the great personalities in our sport. We talk about him all the time. He was on Dodgers territory. Now we got him on foul territory. Teoscar Hernandez joining us right now. Let's go. Teo, great to have you on. And you know why I did that? And I'm excited because I did hear the kiddos around. So it's okay. You know, if one pops through and wants to say hello, that's fine. I'm sure they have a smile and a personality just like you. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good. Everything good. I'm in daddy's duty right now, so anytime, anytime I get to get my wife a break, I would do it. To help them. It's not easy
So what do
when
you
you
do?
have three boys around.
So what do you guys do? What does Teosito know that dad is gonna come and like hang out and do? Like, what's your go-to game?
They like to stay in their iPads, but when they see me around, they just chase me around. They don't let me be when I'm at home. They ask me for food and juice and water. They just trying to be around me the whole day when I'm at home.
Teo, do they know what you do? Like, I know you have two, three, and you have three, right? Three kids. How old's the
Three
third one?
kids, three boys. The oldest one is 4. The next one is 3, and then 2.
Wow. Okay. So back to back to back. Love that. And so
Yeah,
do they know
little
what you
busy, a
do?
little busy.
A little
But
busy. Do they know your job yet or no? Do they understand?
kind of like if you ask them, they say like what his daddy do, and they say they play baseball. Where they said the Dodgers, they know a little bit. They understand a little bit now.
Wow, that's incredible, man. That's incredible. I want to talk a little bit about, well, first off, congrats again on the home run derby, man. That was sweet. I got to announce you on there, bro. You absolutely tore it up. When I saw your batting practice, I was like, oh, hold on. I might have to change my pick here because I went with Alonso, but, just from experience, yeah, you got one of these hanging up now.
Yeah, thank God.
But yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank
And
you,
I just want
thank
to
you.
talk a little bit about your Dodger experience, man. It's been absolutely incredible. Guy pretty much bet on himself, got after it, and now this offseason you're thinking, or we're all thinking, like, where are you going to go? And the only good fit that we thought was going back to the Dodgers. How comfortable are you there, and how excited are you to start this another opportunity to win a World Series, especially with who you got on board with the squad now?
It's different. Since the first day that I get to spring trainer, it was just something different. The atmosphere, it was different. The players, the coaches, the way they treat the players, the way they treat the families, and they go about this business differently. This is my fourth organization that I have been, and the aura is just different when you go around those guys, and from top to bottom, they take care about players, they take care about how you feel doing what you love, and this is our job, but they try to make it as easy as possible for all the players and the families, and that's what I love about this organization, and that's why I make the decision when I sign a 1-year deal, and now that I sign an extension with them.
Okay, and then you're going to get a ring. Have you seen the ring yet? Have you seen
Not
even
yet.
like a little sneak peek? Nothing yet?
No, they haven't shown anything. They haven't, not even a picture, not even like what it's gonna have inside or anything.
Okay. It's probably going to be pretty legit. Probably going to have like a TV inside the box and show some like Teo highlights in there.
AI
It'll be
stuff.
pretty. And then your kids and then your boys can all watch them because they'll be like, oh, another screen, and they'll just stick it up and they'll be like, wow, that's Papa. I like that.
I bet it's gonna be huge. That's the only thing.
Okay, that's good. So going into
Yeah.
free agency, did you think you were going to get more? Because obviously free agency didn't go the way you wanted. You went 1-year deal with the Dodgers, and then you crushed it. You killed it. You did everything. You won. Everything you could have possibly done, you did. Did you think you were going to get more going into free agency? More calls from different teams? More money from different teams?
Yes. I'm not gonna lie. After a year, the that I have, I was thinking about, okay, I'm in a good position. I'm in a better position than last year, and this is gonna be fun. And for me, when we start getting calls and all of that, it just like, okay, this team calls, and who else? And then like 2 weeks later, this team calls, and by the end of December, it was only like maybe 5 teams, but they wasn't like 100% into it. They just show, oh yeah, we like we like Theo, we like his profile and everything, but we have to wait. We have to make trades. We have to make this. We have to make rooms. Uh, we have to make some move to get more money, or uh, we can only offer 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, and things like that. But at the end of the day, I said it during the season, that going into free agency, my priority was going to be the Dodgers, and we tried to get in contract, we tried to stay close, and just moving forward, just go through it and make a deal.
Two kind of questions here. When you went through that, did you get the feeling other teams really want to win as much as the Dodgers? And was there a second place team to the Dodgers that you were like, oh, I'm going to Roki Sasaki and think about maybe this? No.
No, I don't think so. Because if teams wants to win, uh, they don't go into free agency telling players that, oh, we need to make a trade for us to get money, and or we need to make a trade for us to have the room, or we need to make a trade for this type of player. If you wants to compete, you just sign players, you make the move quick, and you just sign good players in free agency. And I don't see that from the other teams that were interns in my service.
Why do you think that is? Because it plays into my next question, Teo, which is our being a national show, the amount of fans that will write into us and be like, why even play the season out? The Dodgers sign everyone. And I remember Mookie Betts told us last year on our show, like, hey, we've got a target on our back. I'm like, oh, it is going to be even more so this year, where you go to every town, right? Every baseball city, and it's going to sell out, and they're going to think you guys are the evil empire because they're trying.
I mean, why we play this game? We play this game to get money. That's one, right? And we play this game to win, right? So it's not it's not that hard to think the players that are gonna go to a team that is not going to compete, even if they get the money. It's not happening anymore. Players are willing to take less money and go to a team that wins, and the Dodgers are doing that. They trying to make not. I think they building already a legacy. They've been winning for a long time right now, and they don't feel they have the success that they want to have. And now they just going all in, and they just investing in all the big free agents and just trying to make the perfect team so we can go ahead this year and just trying to win again.
I want to ask a question. Spring training right around the corner. I know you're going to be facing some live pitching. You have some new guys in there. Is there maybe an opportunity you go to the manager and you say, listen, I want to try and face some of these guys just to see what they got here? I mean, I think that would be, for me, I'd be like, I want to see Sasaki right now. I want to see him. I want to see live pitching. Even if I don't get a hit or if I don't swing, I want to see how nasty he is.
Of course, you just want to try every single like scenario from your teammates. Uh, and Sasaki will be like one of my not targets, but I would be so happy to be in home plate facing him and see what he have, and just really excited for him for the team in this season.
Teo, did Roki ask for number 37? Now, technically, he hasn't made the team yet. He's on minor league camp, big league invite. But did he ask for number 37?
Not yet. I think he asked for Miggy's number. I think that's the number that he's gonna.
Well, what do you think? What do you think he's going to have to buy for Miggy? Because Miggy's technically making more than he is. And what would he have to buy for you if Miggy said no? Go get 37 from Teo. What would he have to buy for you?
I don't think I would ask for anything. It's just a number for me. I mean, I know I want, like, every player has a favorite number. For me now, it's 37, obviously. But if I have to pass it to him, I will pass it to him with no problem. I don't pay attention, or I don't listen to uh, those kind of things. If I have to wear a different number, I wear a different number. And I
What's
bet
Miggy?
Miggy,
What's
I
Miggy
bet
gonna
Miggy
ask
is
for?
not gonna ask for anything either.
Okay. So it's all about the team vibes. I like that. Talking about
Yeah.
team vibes, Shohei for people who do a show like this, for people who watch the game, he's kind of quiet. And every single time that we see Teo next to Shohei, it's a hand on the back. There's smiles. So what's the funniest thing that he said to you and that you've said to him?
Uh the funniest thing that he asked me how to say it in Spanish, but I don't think we can say that in here. I will let you guys know later. But yeah, it's funny because everybody sees Shohei so serious, and he's not. He's not. He's like that when he's in the dugout. He just respect so much this game that he just go about the business and he just go and stay focused. But Shohei outside of the dugout is a funny guy.
What's the easiest way to make him smile, Teo? Like, what do you say if you see him being a little bit too serious and you're like, hey, lighten up? Like, do you have a go-to line, or, what does he like to talk about with you, whether it's within baseball or outside of baseball?
There's something that we used to say most of every day. Every time when we get to the field, we hit in the cage. I say, Shohei, please do something today. Even if it hits 2 homers the day before or get like 4 RBIs or whatever, I say, just please do something and hit the ball hard. And he just started laughing and just trying to relax and have fun.
One more on Shohei. How excited are you to see him pitch and hit at the same time this year, coming back from injury? It's going to make your team that much more better. I feel like this is going to be
Oh,
another.
I can't wait. I can't wait to
Yeah.
it just like it just everything that he does, it every day it just you're just waiting for something incredible to happen when he's step in the batter's box. Or uh, last year he was preparing himself to run to steal bases, and he did. He just make a hell of a season, and he made history. And this year he will continue to make history in baseball.
No
All right.
doubt.
Is there anything that you can beat Mookie at? Because all we hear is Mookie balls at 300. Mookie can play darts. Mookie's the best ping pong player. Is there a superpower that Teo's like, hey Mookie, come over here and do this crossword or something?
I think there's something. I think I'm a better cooker than him. I can cook better than Mookie. That's
What
one
do you
thing
cook?
for sure. I will beat him.
What do you cook?
Anything, anything. You want to say hi? Yeah, you want to say
Yeah.
hi? Here you go. Say,
How about a little pollo guisado?
say,
Hey.
say hi. I'm Julian. No. No?
No.
Why? He just came back here for me to change YouTube. Go ahead. Go.
His YouTube. Did the battery wear out? Is that what happened? The battery
No,
wore
he
out
just
on Julian's iPad?
he changed what he's watching, and he don't know how to get it back.
Do they live with you during the season, or do they stay in one place and then you go to the season and visit you?
No, they go with me. They go to Los
Okay.
Angeles with me. Yeah.
Do you FaceTime? Do you FaceTime when you're on the road with them?
Yeah, all day. Sometimes
So
I get out like for 10 days, and they just like ask my wife, where's daddy? Or anytime like I call my wife, they say, oh, it's daddy. And they just anytime I whistle to him to them, and they know, and they just go, oh, where's daddy? And they just start looking for me.
So do they think you're an app on the phone? Like he's looking for the YouTube app? Do they look at your wife's phone
They
and go like where's daddy?
No,
Where's daddy?
they don't know how to call me, not yet. But today I called the oldest one through FaceTime, and he just go, oh, there's daddy on the iPad. So he finally answered.
Well, he'll be running highlights soon too. We'll be watching some Teo highlights and taking some swigs. Teo, I got one question for you about Toronto. I know you were tight, or still are, with Vladdy Jr. Based off our combo on free agency, I'm like, I know he's going to be expensive. Why isn't Vladdy signed up to a 10-year contract? What do you think ends up happening? Do you think at this point he's a year away? He's going to be doing a little dance since he saw what Soto got, and he's only a year older than him heading into free agency next year?
Honestly, I don't know. When you have a player like that, and he's everybody talk about the his body, but he just like that. He just not the way you want it to be, but he still plays, and he plays every day. Like the last 3 years, I think he's been playing more than 150 games, and he's been healthy. I don't know why it hasn't been an extension with the Dodgers. And at this point, sometimes as a player, when you don't see uh, the organization try to keep you, you get a little angry, and I think that's normal. And I don't think the Blue Jays want that to happen to Vladdy, honestly. And hopefully they can make it work, because he want to stay. He want to stay as a Blue Jays, and just being there the whole career. But at the end of the day, is business, and you have to do what is best for you and your family.
Teo, take us to Seattle, because there's a big article that just came out and it said Seattle is the toughest park to hit in. Not just home runs, but the toughest park to hit in. It causes more strikeouts, it causes less hits, less home runs. Do you believe this? And what do you think the reason is if you do?
For me, is that I couldn't see. When you step in the batter's box, you trying to see the pitcher straight, right? And for me, it was like I couldn't figure that out. I always see myself crooked. It's either the pitcher was like behind me or on the other side of the mound. It was never straight like the other stadium. Never feel the same. And when I play there, my numbers show it. It just I could hit like 4 hits the day before on the road, and the next day I get to Seattle, and it just either I hit the ball hard, don't get hits, or I just strike out.
Do you
But
have any idea what it is?
for me was that I couldn't figure out how to see the picture like in line with me.
Mm-hmm.
I always see it crooked for some reason.
Do you have any idea, like, did you ever like stand out there when nobody was out there and see if the mound was a little off? Did you think it was maybe the batter's eye, how it's kind of at a different angle? Was it the sun? Any like reason you think that is?
I was watching videos of like trying to figure it out, and I watched some videos, and it was the batter's box was a little crooked. But and then I went the next day and just trying to stay online, even if I see myself like crooked in the body's box and still feel the same. So it was something I don't know. It's great to play over there because the fans and the city and everything, but that part I couldn't figure it out. It was a hard time for me.
All right, last thing before we let you go. Do you think you will defend your home run derby championship next year if you get asked to do it?
uh, right now, at the moment, I don't think I'm gonna go, but I don't know if I change my mind
All right. At
during the
least
year.
so you're saying there's a chance. Okay, too sorry.
Yeah,
I
there is
got
a
you.
chance. Yeah,
All right,
yeah. Because I
all
want if I'm gonna do it, I want it to be in the All-Star game.
right. Yeah, I that makes sense. If
Oh
you're
yeah,
I
if
don't
you're
I
an
don't want to
all-star,
go
right?
just for the derby. If I'm going, I have to be in the All-Star game, and for that to happen, I have to put
play
some
well.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And if you think it's close, you just put one of the kiddos on the line with the commissioner and say and have him cry on the phone and say, "You better get Teo with the All-Star game, or we're not doing the Derby." But no, hey, hopefully
Hopefully,
you make it
hopefully
easy.
I can make that easy on everybody that votes for me
Thank you.
this year.
Exactly. There you go. Good plan. Well, Teo, awesome to have you on here for the first time. You were great. People love to hear from you. So keep being one of the best ambassadors in the game. I mean that, right? We talk about it all the time. So your accessibility means a lot to the sport. So thank you.
Appreciate it,
Get
guys.
back to
Thank you.
daddy duty. All right.
Thank
Good
you for
job.
having me. Okay, and sorry for
Yes.
the little kiddos being around.
No, it's even better. We love
Keeps
it.
it
We
real.
love it every time.
Appreciate it,
Thanks,
guys.
Teo.
Have a good one.
Appreciate you.
Great to see
You
Buena
you.
too.
suerte.
Hey, shout out to Playmakers Classic, which is coming up in just a few weeks, and actually felt like this was perfect time to give it a little more love since it's all about supporting players' charity efforts and really helping them not only figure it out logistically, but also just putting more money into accounts of nonprofits that help the communities. So I just felt like this was the time since it's coming up, and man, Teo is so freaking nice. He's just
fun loving.
smiling.
Fun loving.
He's doing daddy duty at home
Yeah.
with multiple kiddos running around while he probably got a fierce workout in this morning. I mean, that is a guy that makes a lot of other dudes look bad,
Look bad.
right? You're like, yo, I'll be a good dad or whatever, but I can't be Teo.
No.
He's got a 2, a 3, and a 4, and he's walking around
Yeah.
hitting freaking 35 homers and winning a home run derby.
Only thing I would say, like, find a way to get a little football game in there, some tackle, maybe a little hide and seek. Kratzy, what do you think, man? Get rid of those iPads for a couple hours and just make a mess of the house.
Oh, make a mess of the house, make them clean it up, and then everybody goes and takes a nap. That's the best part of having
Oh,
my
forgot
guy.
about the nap. The nap.
My guy's been doing work. I mean, 4, 3, and 2. Teo, one time, say no,
Woo,
but
woo.
also, like, that's the perfect time. All your kids still taking naps. Let's get them all worn out. Each one of them, like, get them crying a little bit, where they're like,
Just
I don't want it.
exhausted.
And they're just like, oh, you're tired. I'm tired. Nap time. Hour and a half right under the covers.
Yep.
Love it.
Agreed.
Boom,
Agreed.
that's a man with experience. Right
Yes,
there.
it is.
That's right. Hey, if you want to hang out with a bunch of current major leaguers in Arizona in a few weeks, this is what it looks like. There's obviously a special musical performance and the gaming and the activations with brands. There's tastings, fan gear. The 3rd annual Playmakers Classic is February 18th. Yes. So if you're in the Arizona area or if you're heading out there for spring training, little pitchers and catchers, go check out playerstrust.org to get your tickets. Hey, we know this guy, Derek Levandowski, joining us right now, the host and big man of Pinstripe Territory. So, Derek, good to see you. And obviously, before we get into the Yankees team storylines, which we felt like was the natural fit of team for you to cover on this one, just want to shout out the work you do behind the scenes, specifically even with these team storylines. So, if you want to lay out how we're going to end up having one for every team and that people can just kind of roll through one by one if they missed any of them.
Well, as somebody who covers one team, I just find it useful when there's recaps of all the other stuff that goes on in the league, and who better to provide that than us. So we've got this playlist set up that you can go find right there on our Foul Territory homepage. That's got team previews for everybody we've done so far: Rangers, Diamondbacks, White Sox, Reds, etc. And Yankees will be obviously added to that today. And we're going to roll all of these 30 teams out over the course of the next month so that headed into the season, everybody can be up to date on all the major storylines that we're going to be covering here on Foul Territory this summer.
Yeah, there are people that snooze in the offseason, although less and less these days because it's so easy to follow with a number of different platforms, insiders working every day for you. But still, if you feel like you need a refresher course on who's on what team and what the pressing storylines are, that's what we're here for. So let's hit the Yankee storylines, please. The 4 big ones we're going over today is rebuilding post 1 year of Juan Soto with additions like Bellinger and Goldschmidt in the lineup. Aaron Judge's response after not getting the job done in the postseason and the big drop in the World Series. We've got the emergence of Jason Dominguez to cover and Max Fried, year 1 in that starting rotation. So, Derek, let's start with the big storyline. It was Mets versus Yankees for Juan Soto, and our storyline's front end, our animation that goes into this, always starts with a very painful image of Soto in a Mets uniform. So, what did you think of all of that? And do you really believe that the New York Yankees are a better club without Juan Soto?
First off, what a beautiful introduction. We should give the guy who made that a raise, that Soto graphic and all that stuff. But, I was, as I mentioned last time I was on, not on the side of giving him $760 million. I just thought it would handcuff the Yankees. We're already hearing Steinbrenner complain about other teams spending. So we know if he gives out a huge contract like that to Juan Soto, he's not doing anything else. I don't know if we're better, but I think Plan B is going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to win, hopefully, in a different way than they won last year, a more complete team that doesn't necessarily rely on the explosive tandem at the top of the order, but maybe mixes in a few more veteran bats. Bellinger and Goldschmidt are going to shake things up for sure, but they also need some of the younger guys to take a step forward. Austin Wells had a 2-month period last year where he was outstanding, OPS around 900. Can he maintain that a little bit more this year? Anthony Volpe was hitting around 300 in June. He had a 34-game on-base streak. He seized that leadoff spot, but then he relented it as the season went on. The training wheels are off. This is year 3 for Anthony Volpe. Will he be able to step up and recapture that leadoff spot and be the guy that we've all hoped he would become, which is that spark plug at the top of the order. Another guy I know we're going to talk about later, which is Jason Dominguez. He's replacing Alex Verdugo in left field. And he's been one of these guys who's been hyped for years, partially because of me, but I really believe in him. And I think that, the conglomerate of all of these guys could put the Yankees in a position where they're very close to what they were last year, if not better.
Yeah, and that kind of goes in our next topic, what we're talking about, the Martian, Dominguez. Everybody has expectations going into every year. What are your expectations of him, and is he going to live up to those expectations?
Well, I mean, I've been following Dominguez for a long time. Yankees gave him almost their entire international bonus pool budget right around the time I was starting a podcast. So he was somebody that I kind of fixated on, like, all right, we're going to follow this guy. I had this whole thing called the Martian Tracker. He was getting comps to Mickey Mantle and Mike Trout, which is not unusual for prospects. But, he comes up to the major leagues, and in his first week, he does things that only Mickey Mantle did in his first week in the major league. So the hype seemed real for a minute. Then he gets Tommy John surgery. He missed almost all of last year. But if you look at his minor league numbers, they got better and better and better. And from what we hear scouts talk about this guy, he's one of these people who learns very fast and adapts very quickly. Now, he had some issues defensively last year. I'm more worried about that than I am his offense. The right side of the bat could, right side of the plate could use some work. He's a switch hitter, but he's much better from the left side. But look, we're setting high expectations for him, and the Yankees are putting a lot of eggs in that basket. There's no safety net here. He's got to go out and get it done. I'm hopeful that he'll get it done. To borrow a phrase from the UFO poster, since we're talking about the Martian, I want to believe.
Well, I want him to do well so that your show does well, since you have brought the Martian to the people. I appreciate hearing that. All right. Aaron Judge wins a third MVP this year and struggles in the playoffs again. Will there be a breaking point for Yankees fans, or will it not matter?
As someone who interacts with Yankees fans on a daily basis, I could tell you that last year seemed like it was pretty close to the breaking point, if not over the breaking point. I'm interested to see the reception he's going to get this year, especially if he gets off to another slow start like he had in April of last year. Look, Judge is statistically elite. He's a physical anomaly. He's an amazing representative of the Yankees franchise. He's probably going to hit 500 or more home runs, but he's in danger of being one of those great regular season players who never wins a title. Griffey, Bonds, another Yankees captain, Don Mattingly. But Donnie Baseball had one shot at the postseason and really performed well. Judge got off to a couple of decent starts in the postseason early on in his career, but as his statistics have gotten better in the regular season, he has faded a little bit in the playoffs, and they've, basically the Yankees fans have grown frustrated with that. One of the things I'm really interested in watching as a fan and covering as a podcaster is if there's a tangible shift in how Aaron Judge goes about his business. He's always very stoic. I want to see that Tiger Woods on Sunday with the red shirt attitude. I want to see Jordan against the Pistons in 91. I want to see that side of Aaron Judge. I want him to prove that he's one of the all-time greats by having that 09 A-Rod postseason this year and putting the Yankees on his back. Because I keep saying one of the things that really hurts Judge and really affected him last year is that the Yankees lost Game 3 of the ALCS. You remember he had that big home run against Emmanuel Clase to tie the game. Stanton puts him ahead with a go-ahead homer, but they blew the game. If they had won that game, I feel like the entire universe could have shifted in a different way for the Yankees last year. I feel like he could have gotten hot. He would have been emotional and riding that high, and the pressure would have been off. But the next day, the pressure was back, and he struggled. And so the pressure continued until the final game of the World Series. And look, I just want to see how he approaches it this year with all of this, I guess, negative response over how he performed in the postseason.
Thanks for the perfect lead into my next question. We got new guys on this roster. They can look right to Aaron Judge and say, wow, this dude crushes New York. He handles everything so well, the good, the bad. How are Max Fried, Cody Bellinger, and Paul Goldschmidt going to fare in the, I got it here. The Bronx Zoo shirt on. How are they going to handle that pressure that some people fade under? And is there one guy of those three that you're like, I'm a little worried about the pressure?
I don't really worry about the pressure of those guys. It seems like, Max Fried is built for New York. He seems like a very confident guy. Paul Goldschmidt's the consummate professional. He's been a steady rock. And Cody Bellinger's playing for a contract. Devin Williams, also a new guy. I think he's probably facing the most pressure because there's such little room for error. As a closer, you blow a couple of games early and that New York crowd can turn on you, and not everybody comes back from that. But I think he'll do fine. I mean, you know how nasty he is. I like the addition of Max Fried. Everything I hear about him from the guys over at Hammer Territory is that he was a fan favorite, that he'll handle New York just fine. There's some concerns about his health, but I don't concern myself with that because we can't control it, and every pitcher faces health issues. Anybody could snap an elbow at any given point. But I think that the pendulum has swung for how the Yankees are trying to win from an offensive-minded team to a team that's more focused on pitching and defense. And while they might not be as exciting to watch, I think they might do a lot more winning of like close games and making big plays in the big spot. And I'm just excited to see this team get back to playing baseball again and not necessarily focused on being a home run juggernaut.
Yeah, it's going to be a more aesthetically pleasing brand of baseball for the Yanks. Now, does it mean they're a better team than last year? I don't know. They're at least in that same range, but also, I mean, the American League should be at least a little bit better. The division should be a little bit better. All right, let me finish with a bonus question here because I would say consensus from the crowd wanting to know your answer. And I know you did an episode on this on Pinstripe Territory, but let's get your quick thoughts here. What did you think of Hal Steinbrenner's comments about, the Dodgers being the essentially big bad Dodgers now? It's funny, just an ironic for me growing up in the New York City area in Jersey, right nearby, and all these Yankee fans saying, oh, we're the evil empire. They're not the evil empire anymore. The Dodgers are.
Well, he said that a lot of us owners can't do what the Dodgers are doing. And I think it's interesting that he puts himself in there with other owners when he's, the owner of the most valuable franchise in the sport. To that, I just say, prove it. I say, prove it. If you want to prove that you can't compete with the Dodgers, open up your books. Show us that you're not making money. I know the Yankees have a large payment that they're still paying down the stadium. It's like $30 million a year. They're still paying some old contracts, Aaron Hicks and some bad investments and things like that. But they also have an enormous amount of worldwide revenue. What I think he meant to say, what a more precise thing to say would have been, is that we can't do exactly what the Dodgers are doing and make exactly the same profit that we've gotten used to. I think that would have been a much more accurate and honest answer.
Yeah, exactly. More of a business acumen answer. So it certainly was not construed correctly to like bunch yourself in a group with some of the other ball clubs that definitely do not swing like that. They can do the same swinging that the Dodgers can do. All right, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, everyone go check out Pinstripe Territory from our crowd for more on the Yanks and more even on that storyline that many of you were asking about. There it is. There's Derek with the big hat and I know a lot of work in the offseason, a lot of hustle to put together some special treats, some special additions to PT coming up this season. He's on after every post game after every game. Thanks, Derek. Talk soon, bud.
Appreciate it, guys.
BetMGM futures. Let's hit the Rays. Ooh, 80.5 on the win total for Tampa Bay.
Half and half.
So it's a little under the 500 mark. They just signed Ha-Sung Kim. You weren't on with us yesterday, Todd.
No, I heard, though.
A surprising little addition for the Rays and their highest paid player, of course, now. And they're coming off an 80-win season last year. So BetMGM's like, I challenge you. Do they go one up, one down? What are we thinking?
They're playing at a new spot, too, man.
Yeah, more offense there.
Oh, man. I feel like you can never count those Rays out for getting 80 wins, man.
But then my thing is you got to pick at least one or two teams that are going to suck in the division because not every team's going to win 80-some-odd games. So I'm okay with going over on the Rays, and I feel like I might do that. But I do have to be honest with myself and be like, who's going to suck in the division?
It's a tough one, man.
Right now, for me, it's Toronto.
Yeah.
If it's any team.
Oof, man.
I think
I know Kratzy probably would agree with that. I don't know. I don't see him getting over 80.
for the race.
I don't see it.
No.
I see under 500. I see him battling, but the division's just too tough. It's just too tough, and I would say in the mid 70 range.
Okay, Kratz.
I'm taking the under with Todd. I think that's what Todd's answer was, but I'm taking the under. But I also want to take 80.5 because they're playing in a minor league park. There might be a game where, you know what, guys, like it's the end of the year. This is our 19th rain out. Like each of you gets a half. So they might actually be the first team to win 80.5, but I'm taking the under.
That's good. I'll actually take the over. I think that there will be a home field advantage because it's going to be such a pain for other teams
thought about
to
that
reschedule and go through all the rain. They're going to be like, yeah, we do this every day. So anyway, if you want to play poker inside, Erik Kratz is your guy. He is digitally playing over the next few days in the Gridiron Classic. So if you'd like to face him, you can win a custom football jersey every night during this little run. I entered one quick tournament last night, Kratz, while I was in Jersey, and I was out very quickly. Went all in, ace king against pocket aces. That is a pretty trophy, and that is one that you won in one of these online tournaments. So good luck to you coming up over the next few days. And I heard Todd Father might be playing in a tourney or two as well.
Yeah, tonight, right, Kratzy? You and I.
It's a couple. It's tonight. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sunday's the big one. Sunday's the only $500 buy-in, $25,000 pot. Let's get it!
Woo! Onions.
Hot Corner, let's sizzle quickly here. First off, poll results. Which of these teams is best in the NL Central? We were only allowed to put 4 options. So we went Brewers, Cubs, Reds, Pirates. Oh, I guess we didn't include the Cardinals. I would have not included the Pirates. But
I would have said the
safe
same
with both of them.
No, Cardinals are worst.
No, they're not.
I
think the Cardinals are worse than the Pirates this coming season?
Yes.
No.
Oof.
No.
Oh, that's going to be a good one.
Cardinals over Pirates. We might have to place a friendly wager on that one. But anyway, Reds, Cubs, Brewers. Who do you think's the best team?
We talked about the Reds, but you haven't beat the Brewers yet, so I'm going to stick with the Brewers as of right now.
Okay.
It's Reds should win this, but I'm sticking with the Brewers just on past events.
Kratz?
Yeah, you gotta beat the Brewers, but I think the Reds have the upgrades. Brewers haven't done enough. I'm going Reds.
Okay. Well, the Brewers won the poll, and then the Cubs got second. Reds got third. I voted for the Reds. I haven't decided, but for now, I'm going Reds. Next up, Susan Slusser reported on Rob Manfred touring the A's new home ballpark in Sacramento with John Fisher and Vivek. I don't know how to say his last name, but the dude who owns the Kings, who I'm sure got a little FaceTime with the big boys with the league to try and talk them into staying. But anyway, apparently there have been some issues there. There's going to be a 3-week road trip to resurface the field in June for their minor league team so they can get it together because that field's going to take a beating. It was not made for that initially. Also, apparently last June, construction workers mistakenly started drilling into a weight room with a pitcher working out on the other side of it. From somebody who actually was involved in a little accident once where they were doing construction in a place they shouldn't and a ceiling collapsed on my body. Yeah, that's pretty scary. Yeah, true story. Don't have time for it right now, but another time. But anyway, hopefully they get their ish together.
This is how Rob toured. Wow, what an amazing stadium. Thank you. Is Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani here yet?
I do think he goes because he has to be able to tell players face-to-face, I went there and it looks good enough, so deal with it. Like, you got to go there one time and say that you were there. And I know that, the players on the other side are going to be like, yo, we need conditions to be up to this standard. So we'll see. We'll let it play out. We'll see what it looks like. And then next up, let's pick one rumor from Kenny Ballgame here. Because we're going to talk to Rosenthal tomorrow, but just a quick thought on the Reds and White Sox talking, but not ending up at deal status. I know we talked to Jim Bowden about it. How badly do you think the Reds should push? Or do you think they're better off just waiting for that price to go down to one high-end prospect and not two?
Man, I just think this is the time. If they feel like Luis Robert is the 2023 Luis Robert and they can unlock that, this is the time to make the move. If they don't, and the concerns we brought up with Jim Bowden are legitimate. He's seeing the exact same things I'm seeing. Like, you need this guy 100% committed because he can play at 80% health. Everybody talks about health. Oh, he's that talented. To me, you add that to that lineup with Elly, oh baby. And I think you talk about a team that could enjoy or that could really bring him into the fold. Elly is another Latin player. To me, that's a thing. He's a superstar. So there's that connection there that would help him improve.
Well said. Well said. I agreed. He would have a lot of homers at this stadium. So put a lot of things in perspective. Is he going to be that workhorse? That's my biggest issue. There can't be any doubt in hustle and energy and emotion, enthusiasm, all that stuff. But we don't know.
But if you're buying stock and you do believe in the player, this is the time to try and do it. Now, if the asking price is too high, it is what it is. Okay. But if he ends up starring in the first half of the season, there are going to be a lot of other teams involved. It just makes it more difficult. It's both sides of the coin here. I could also see a trade happening in a few weeks where you kind of get pushed to shove and you're like, he's looking good enough. White Sox don't want to risk it. They're like, let's do this, because they did that last year with Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
They waited until March 13th, and then they traded him
to
the Padres. So we'll see. All right, let's take a quickie break, and then we'll slap hands. We'll actually talk about Adam Silver giving MLB a little bit of love.
Little praise to the MLBers.
Mm-hmm. And Todd's really good at sports. All right, so after we do slap hands here, people, we will stay on to get ready for Dodgers territory. So you'll have an extra few minutes with us, but I'll bring up one question in the meantime. Actually relevant, since Kyle Glazer is going to be on Dodgers territory he's the new host of Friar territory. But Smokey Joe in the chat, will the Padres do a Betts type of deal and trade Tatis for prospects? He said, I think Tatis to Toronto would be a fit if the Padres are dealing. I got to check if Tatis has a no trade, but what do you got?
Thank you. Good. I'm glad somebody's finally asking that question. You and AJ both laughed at me when like, oh, they can't. Who are they going to trade? They can't trade Tatis, Manny, X. They can't trade any of those guys. And I'm like, the Padres have to look outside the box. I love that Smokey asked that.
I didn't say that they couldn't trade Tatis, did I?
Yeah, when I brought it up the other day, both of you guys were like, no, those guys aren't movable.
They're not actually. So I just looked it up. When he signed that deal, it was 2021, 14 years, $340 million right before spring training started in 2021. No trade clause, no opt-outs, no deferred money. So he'd have to accept that.
That would be a great trade for Toronto.
It would, but he's not going there.
I don't think so either.
You're going to talk to the guy and say, hey, we're dealing you. It's not like it's a bad club. I'm saying the Padres, and he loves being there, and he is a fan favorite. Even if they did look at that as the best option to move significant money so that they can have flexibility elsewhere, he's not going to say yes. He's not. That's why you don't see that name brought up.
I like the question, Smokey. We're on the same page.
Yeah, I like the question too.
Won't
you're
happen.
Trying to think outside the box because you're like, wait, if this team's going to be competitive again, you can't trade Cease or King.
No, you can't trade any of
they
the
can't
big
afford
dogs.
them.
They probably are going to. They're probably going to
afford
trade
them.
one of them. That sucks. Fun team to watch. They'll still be exciting, but they have definitely been severely depleted so far this offseason. All right, we're swinging back in 30 seconds with slap hands to talk about the NBA MLB connection. Friday show will feature Ken Rosenthal, Jonathan Papelbon, and Victor Scott II, the speedster for the St. Louis Cardinals, young ball player with a lot of promise. Anyway, let's slap. So first off, let's get quick comments from everyone here. We're going to run out of time, but let's do this first. Adam Silver talking about how MLB is inspirational for the NBA to make changes of their own.
I'm a fan of what baseball did. I'm a baseball fan, and I think some of those changes have really increased sort of the engagement, the entertainment value of the game. And so I'm paying a lot of attention to that. And in fact, I've used the pitch clock, the sort of the increasing the size of the base, et cetera, in meetings at the NBA to say, if baseball, which is more locked into tradition, and I don't mean that negatively, than any other sport. And part of what baseball provides is the tradition, the legacy, that if they're able to make those changes, certainly we shouldn't be afraid to look at changes as well.
That was on the Dan Patrick Show. We like to give credit to everyone for the hard work that they do. Please credit your media outlets when they do hard work and bring on great guests. Anyway, I like the inspiration part, but for me personally, Todd Father, as a longtime NBA fan, I don't follow the game that closely anymore, but I love going to games. I don't want 10 minutes. That's too damn short. I feel like 12 is quick, especially by the time you get all settled in. I'm like, damn, game's over. And they're in like a 2 hour, 15-ish, I want to say, minute range. And MLB, it's the same thing with MLB. There was a point where they were like, oh, we should go to 7 innings because these games are 3 hours, 40 minutes. Well, now we got the time down because we got rid of the dead time. No. We're 9 innings. So I see what he's saying, but like, let's speed up the free throws and the instant replays. I don't want 10-minute quarters.
Yeah, I agree. It's I love basketball. I love watching it. I don't know. Maybe it's just something they've been looking into, their analytical department, something that they have gone on of saying, man, it's these extra 2 minutes. What does that equal? 8 extra minutes a game. I feel like it's fast enough, but I'm not the expert in all this. So for them, I like how he talks about baseball. It gives a new outlook to baseball and how exciting and how some people perceive baseball. And I think as a commissioner, that's really cool to hear.
And I think on the media side, MLB could learn a few things from the NBA. Please allow highlights to be floated all over the world, including on digital. Thank you. Hey, we're back. All right, Kratz, weigh in. And you can do Kratz hats. Maybe you can do both things at the same time. You can show your hat and tell us about the NBA.
There's no teams in Scranton, but there was a throwback for the Scranton hat. So Scranton Wilkesboro. And my thing with the NBA, you want to go to a quicker game? Go to a JV high school game. Man, the refs just put the whistles away. Dudes are just running up and down the court like – you don't want to. I'm against changing clocks and changing times. I'm going to a sporting event. I'm not trying to get out of there. I want to watch it. I was kind of against the pitch clock. I like it now, but I was against it because I don't really care how long the game is. I like the game that much.
You know what they call JV basketball? Football.
For real, it is unbelievable.
Yeah, it taught me a lot about life. I value my year with JV when I was able to commit fouls that then did not work when you got to varsity. They were like, sir,
humble brag.
Son, that's a foul. I'm like, well, it wasn't a foul last year. They're like, welcome. What, that humble I fouled out of James?
By Scott. Only 1 year on JV. Some of us had to play 2 years on JV. Todd didn't. He scored 1,000 points, and that's all on varsity.
I played freshman. It was JV, and I probably had like 50 points in varsity that year, but just for a little bit.
Just a little bit. No big deal. There's a letter from UConn recruiting him, telling them all of the NBA players that they recently had. And wanting Todd to be
that was incredible. UConn, I think they're sending it to another Todd Frazier.
That was freaking awesome. That's a real story too.
I coach my kids. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you can hoop a little. All right. Lastly, on that front, let's show Todd Father's championship.
Yes.
Belt-ish championship pong
plaque. I would call it a plaque.
Yeah, it's an awesome plaque.
It's a monster plaque. It's really cool. Raised over $48,000 this year for the Children's Specialized Hospital. It was a great showing. We had 64 teams. There was a buyback tournament where our boys from Foul Territory almost won it. They made it to the semifinals. hoping for another good one next year. It was a lot of fun. There's too many thank yous I could do. But again, raised over $48K for the children at the Children's Specialized Hospital. So a lot of good money going to good stuff.
Congrats. I know you put a ton of hustle into all of that. And
No
we
doubt.
love it, and we love to support it. And so make sure you keep an eye on it for next year. When
Kratzy, you're coming next year.
Yeah, Kratz, you got to make the trip next
Book
year.
it.
My bad on the time.
Yeah.
Don't make it BBWA, and I'm there. Who was your partner? Who was that with you?
Oh, that was Mark Montanaro of Autoland. He paid for the biggest sponsor, so the biggest sponsor gets to play with me, so which is great.
Tell Mark to call
And
me.
Mark was on fuego, bro. He was on fire.
Good for him. All right, Dodgers territory coming up next with Kyle Glazer and Clint Pasillas. A little Dodgers-Padres talk.